Asia, the new center of the world game. 1 in 2 football fans globally live on this continent. Here, homegrown legends rise and champions are crowned. Proud nations fly their colors and tribes of fans in booming cities unleash their energy. Intense, diverse. Here, local is king. It's a new era of Asian football, a new type of fandom, a new chapter to an historic story.
Hello, and welcome back to the Sports Matters Academy, where we are talking about live matters. And why we talk about live matters? Because it does, in my humble, unbiased opinion. My name is Jasper Donat. I'm CEO of Branded, and we produce lots and lots of events, usually around matters, so music matters, sports matters, gaming matters, and what have you. And we've just announced that we're going to be hosting All That Matters, all about the metaverse and NFTs and blockchain, what have you, live in Singapore during the Grand Prix week, 26th to 28th of September. Please join us. That's live, IRL, in real life. Back to today, Sports Matters Academy is designed to help anyone interested in learning more about the sports business, making it cool, making it credible. Throughout the series, we've been covering all sorts of subjects and topics, rights, marketing, working with brands, player management, sports law, the metaverse, and what have you. It's live, it's virtual, and it's fireside. So lots and lots of chats with some great people. As ever, we want to hear. Please get your questions to me. We'd love to hear from you and get and start asking questions to the speakers. Who are you? Where are you? Tell us where you are, and we'll have a chat with you. In a minute, we're going to introduce you to some of our speakers, or all of our speakers, actually. But before that, I just want to say thank you. As ever, the Sports Matters Academy is free to attend, 100% free, and that is thank you to our sponsors and our partners, Nielsen, Football Marketing Asia, Sports Singapore, Sport Business, and support from Mailman, Asia Sports Tech, and Pictureboard Partners. So thank you to all of you. Without you, we couldn't be here. And again, thank you to anyone who's tuned in and watching. Thank you for joining. Please enjoy, please learn, please do get your questions into me so I don't have to ask all of them myself. Back to today, I did say live matters because I'm biased, because that's what I do. Live events really are back, but it's been slow and it's been tough. And where some countries have opened up to full capacity crowds, others are just starting to open up. So today's 2 sessions have been looking at the future of live sports. This morning, we had the view from venues, TV production, and tech, and they all talked passionately, and the word passion came out a lot. And they all talked passionately about their careers and what it takes to succeed. If you missed it, you can still watch it on the Sports Matters Academy website or later on YouTube as well. This afternoon, we're talking to a number of great speakers. We have a producer and a rights holder to answer the question of how can we deliver fun experiences in a safe and healthy environment. But first, live sports are back in Singapore. I'm really excited because this weekend the HSBC Rugby Sevens are back. And I caught up with Chern from the Singapore Sevens organizers to find out what we can expect at the stadium this weekend. So, Mo-Yi, thank you so much for joining us today. I know that you are the busiest person in Singapore right now with the Sevens coming up this weekend. So tell us a little bit more. What can we expect from the Rugby Sevens at the weekend?
Hi, Jasper. Thanks for having me here. The Sevens is happening this weekend on the 9th and 10th of April, Saturday and Sunday. We can expect, I guess, the best class world rugby matches. We are inviting actually 16 of the best teams in the world to actually compete in Singapore. So you can definitely expect very good quality rugby happening on the pitch. Off pitch, we do have family activities for everyone. Young families, for teens, even for young adults as well. definitely come and join us at the fun zone, where just at the 100 plus promenade outside the pool. Um, for the fans in the stadium, we have F&B serve. As you are aware that Singapore government has just allowed sevens to actually have food and beer. I think beer is a very key element in rugby matches. So we are able to actually serve this to the patrons in the bowl. And I think besides food and drinks, we do have entertainment, live entertainment as well. So we have Jive Talking as well as DJs from Zouk to perform at our event. Yeah, so it's pretty exciting event coming up over the weekend.
Fantastic. I mean, this is the first, I think I'm right in saying it's the first event in Singapore that's allowed, when you say F&B, that alcohol is allowed in the stands. Now, I know that it's been very challenging as well, getting to where we are today. And you know, we're interviewing you. The tickets went on sale 24 hours ago. How's the uptake been?
Yeah, so the uptake has been pretty positive. Um, right now, our most like we have about almost half the bowl filled on the level three concourse area. So that is pretty encouraging for the team as well to actually see fans very excited to actually come back to the sevens to watch the sevens as well. So yeah.
Well, so Moyi, as you know, I am a fan. I'm really looking forward to this weekend. I know how many challenges you and your amazing team and the stadium and World Rugby have been through just to get to this point, going on sale less than 6 days before the event actually happens. So good luck to you. Good luck to your wonderful team. And I look forward to seeing you in the stadium with a beer in my hand and 4 friends around me.
Yes,
Good luck with the weekend.
All right, thank you, Jasper. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Mo Yi. I think actually since we recorded that session, I believe that the sevens are, if they're not actually sold out, they're pretty much sold out. It's very hard to get hold of a ticket at the moment. So really congratulations to the team, the huge effort that's gone into the sevens, not just because I'm a rugby fan, but I know how hard it's been to get to where they are today. So we're really looking forward to the weekend and yes, having a beer in the stands. So aside to the sevens, there are some really cool events going to be coming up in Singapore soon. So stick around. At the end of the session, we are going to meet Peggy Tung, who is from Sports Singapore, and she's going to be sharing some information about a really cool hybrid triathlon event that's coming up. So we'll be saying hello to Peggy. We're also going to be talking to Raphael Jordi from Football Marketing Asia. But first, we're going to start with Beatrice Chia, who is the CEO of Presplay. Beatrice, thank you so much for joining us on the Sports Matters Academy today. Tell us a little bit about yourself. I want to know who you are, what do you do, and how did you get to where you are today?
Okay. Hey, Jasper. Okay. Before anything, I just want to say beer. Beer. And that is the key word. I need to tell you that I've just come back from Thailand and I was there for my son's tournament. And, you know, it was a challenge even to get alcohol in a restaurant. Not necessarily even when you're watching a match, but not all actually restaurants were serving alcohol. So I'm excited for everybody who is going to be able to hold a keg of beer or big buckets of beer and shouting with your 4 friends. Yes. Okay, a little bit about myself. Because I suppose this is Sports Matters, I own and run a company called Presplay Private Limited. And what Presplay does is live events, predominantly sports, but I think that we've also had the good fortune of, through the years, having done a variety of sporting events, big, large-scale spectacles, for festivals, for galleries as well. And my role predominantly in Presplay is as a creative director. How did I start? I started nothing like this. I started as an actor, actually. I trained to be an actor. It was my dream since I was 14. It was all I wanted to do. I went to the UK to train to be an actor. I worked for a time being, and when I came back to Singapore, I started directing very quickly because it wasn't a viable livelihood for myself, or rather, my nature was such that I found it very difficult to be sitting around waiting for the phone to ring and I really much prefer sort of being more in control of my destiny. And so decided to sort of get behind the scenes to direct live theatre and eventually television. And from that role, I started to find myself working on projects that were larger in scale. And the project that probably one of my proudest projects was being the creative director for the opening ceremony of the Southeast Asian Games in 2015. And I bring that up because it was a few things. It was the first. I think my dream at that point was always to be able to direct something like an Olympic opening. Like sort of be Danny Boyle, and he was a huge hero of mine. I loved the opening ceremonies of all the Olympic Games. I followed them religiously, and always wanting to have an opportunity like that. And so when the SEA Games happened in 2015, and I was appointed as the creative director to create the opening ceremony, that was one of the biggest and proudest sort of productions that I've ever worked on. And because of that production, because of the opening ceremony of the SEA Games, it sort of put me in a certain platform where people started to associate me with sport, even though the opening ceremony wasn't necessarily about, well, it was about sport, but it was a show. But that became the association that was sort of attached to myself. And very soon after that, I was asked to also work on the WTA, which was in Singapore from 2014 to 2018. And I was also asked to come on board to actually work on the opening ceremonies for the WTA and eventually move into sports presentation. And that was when I started to understand that sports presentation was actually such a key part of any sort of live sport event. That there is the sport in itself that is, what people go for. That is obviously the heartbeat of every event, of a sporting event. But from the time that you enter the stadium, from the outside that you get to buy beer or alcohol or a glass of champagne or so, you're allowed to go there with your friends. You find your way to your seat. Music is happening. The lights are good. It gets you into a mood. It prepares you to ultimately be able to enjoy the game and it puts you in a mood. It puts you in that frame of mind where you're here to experience something wonderful. And that has been something that I felt was also, I think it's only in the last few years in Singapore that has been, I think, truly, we're starting to understand the idea that actually sport also requires presentation. And that is the business of what I do. And it has offered me so much opportunity to be involved in so many sporting events. I think just recently the WTT, which is the table tennis, unfortunately not going to be involved in the rugby, but I think that with the live events in sport that is coming back, we're talking to so many people now about all the various events that are coming back to Singapore that we're going to be involved in from a sports presentation perspective.
Fantastic. Well, thank you again for joining us. I guess we are looking at what we can do now and into the future, and helping people understand about the live sports and entertainment industry, and where, for you it's where they converge. But let's a little bit about what did the last 2 years look like? I'm fascinated to know, as an event producer myself, what did the last 2 years look like for you? Did you keep going? Did you go virtual? What did you get up to?
In terms of the live events, when it came to Presplay, it was dead, and I'm pretty flat out. And we were thinking, my goodness, it has never been this sorrowful. And whether we were able to, I have another production company, Stardust, that actually deals with content producing, where we film television commercials, we make documentaries, we actually do that. And that actually for us kept the lights on. But at the same time, I had a lot of clients who had previously come to me to produce a live event, now actually wanting to go into a virtual or hybrid, some sort of model. And that's when our sort of expertise and skills on the other side started to come into play. I look back at, there was the one event that we had in November, which was the global esports, the opening ceremonies for the global esports games. So that was a hybrid event because the games happened, but nobody was really allowed into the ballroom, which is the Resorts World Ballroom at that time, to actually watch it. It was streamed, and a lot of what we then did, we would obviously have to try and cater to. We're trying to. I think the difficulty was always trying to marry the live experience that you're having that you would have in a stadium or in a ballroom, and try to convey that to the live streamers, because that's always impossible to really replicate. That was a lot of how we found ourselves in the last year. But the first year of the pandemic in 2019, really, really tough.
Well, you're preaching to the choir on that one, but congratulations for getting to where you are today and understanding how it seems that the events business was the first in and the last out when it comes to anything to do with, well, not just a pandemic, but financial, when there's a meltdown as well. So Beatrice, thank you for joining. Now you're going to get whisked away into the back room. If you have any questions for Beatrice, please get them into the box, and they will be fed to me, and I can ask her. Obviously, a very, very well-known personality in this part of the world. Up next, we have Raphael Jordi from Football Marketing Asia. Raphael, same questions to you. Who are you? Thank you for joining the Sports Matters Academy, by the way. But who are you? Where are you? And what's your role at Football Marketing Asia?
Hi, Jasper. Thanks for receiving me today, and great to hear that the Sevens are back in Singapore. I'd love to be there this weekend if I was in Singapore, but I'm currently in Korea, traveling a bit in this new open Asian world. I was previously in Thailand. I went to Japan quickly to see the Asian qualifiers. One of the last matches we just delivered a part of Football Marketing Asia job. So what is our company? Football Marketing Asia, we're basically the exclusive agency of the AFC for 14 of their competition from 2021 to 2028, when we got the rights announced back in 2019. So quite a long road to do. We're only in year, let's say, one behind us. And it's been one hell of a ride of a year between you and me, because the pandemic didn't make it easy at all. So what about me? I mean, what I do? Question that my friends ask me often: what do you do? I know them 20 years. They still don't know really what I do. I tell them I work in football, and they're like, sounds good, sounds great. And the next question is, so you're an agent or you're a player?
Can you get me tickets?
Can you get me tickets? So I can get them tickets sometimes, but they don't always fancy traveling to Asia to get some. So now it's a bit further away. But what do I do? My job basically is I'm looking after the operations side of the business. So we are a football company, football agency. Our job is making it happen at the venues, at the stadiums. So when the partners sign a contract with us and with the AFC and want to partner and associate and get the business running, the sponsorship running, then we come in and we say, okay, what do you need? And often the fundamentals of having rights being delivered at a venue is around the perimeter boards, which you see around all matches all across the world. And the key one is, of course, having a signal going up from the venue to the satellite and making sure that it's broadcast around the world. So my job basically is oriented towards the sponsorship rights, making sure they're delivered at the venue, whether it's ticketing rights, whether it's activation rights, if they want to do some promotions in the fan zone around the stadiums, often linked digital campaign first. But we actually, my team focus on the solid word, I like to say, the venue, the on the ground, get the boots on the ground and get it working. And basically we call this commercial delivery.
Thank you. And I know that you've been doing a lot of work in Asia recently, but you were working previously to this in Europe. Obviously, football is also a huge sport. Well, it's the beautiful game, right? But can you say what's the main difference and what's unique about Asia and Europe when it comes to live football?
Yeah, it's a question also we get a lot. I mean, previously I did work with a few people at FMA, including Patrick Murphy and Simon Calder, and all these people were all at team marketing doing the UEFA Champions League rights. So we're quite familiar with that football competition that everybody knows. and they say it's the pinnacle of football marketing in terms of best of the best of delivery, etc., etc. Probably true, but definitely not the easiest, the hardest, I like to say. I find it much more challenging to operate in this part of the world personally. And this one thing when you come to Asia is you're in a constant learning curve, and it's an endless process, and you'll never really grasp it all. I mean, I'm half Korean. My mother is South Korean, so I'm quite attuned with the culture. I lived now in Asia for 5 years, 6 years, so I'm getting quite familiar, but it's so different. And the first thing that struck me is the diversity. And part of our mandate that we have with the AFC is we go across Middle East, Central Asia, Eastern Asia, and down to Australia. Well, when you do football in the Middle East, it's not going to be the same way than you do football in Japan. It's going to be extremely different. And it really varies how you get events delivered, because the cultural aspect and how you deal with people varies a lot. And when you do operations, people. It's all about talking to people, getting acquainted, getting familiar, helping each other, supporting each other, and a very wide variety of cultures. So when I heard like, oh, how is football in Asia? The first question I always have is, well, which Asia are you talking about? Is there one concept of Asia? Do the Asians feel Asians? Europeans do feel a bit Europeans, I would say, but I mean, it's hard to hear people saying like, I'm Asian. I mean, if you're
there's no such thing as Asia, right? I mean, every country is completely different.
Exactly. So very different, yeah.
And so same question I asked to Beatrice, and then we'll get you both together. And please, we've got a couple of questions coming in already, but final question to you, Raphael, is we talked about live sports coming back, and you've just been at a number of events around the world. But what did the last 2 years look like for you?
Well, if I could draw it on a whiteboard, it'll be like very messy. And at the end, something happens, everything goes fine, but it's been a roller coaster of a ride. I mean, that's clear. So we took a couple of years to plan, to organize, and to really get all the process and all the structures in place. And it is extremely, time consuming and making sure everything, because we're a new agency, we will start from scratch. So we're growing very quickly. But then the pandemic came, and we basically took the plan and replanned it. And we retuned it, we adapted it, and so on. And we also had delayed in competition, like most of us. We were fortunate enough that we were able to deliver events. A lot of properties had to cancel the events. But thanks to the AFC, thanks to the clubs, thanks to all the federations, we really gathered together and say, we need to make it happen. We need to find a way. And everybody really pulled together, including governments, to get exemptions. Also thanks to the federations, working with the governments to say, hey, we need to keep this alive. People are stuck at home. Let's at least show them some football. So thanks to everyone pulling together, we really got some stadium running. Yes, they were empty. Yes, it's a shame. And yes, you can see the negative side of it. But on the other side, there's football running and people could play, and there's still possible to do something, even a pandemic. So it's been tough. It's been very difficult. But in the other day, I think if I look back now, what has been able to be achieved and how now the pandemic is slowing down, then we're really on a good curve to come out of it and bring everybody back to the stadiums.
Fantastic. Well, Raphael, again, thank you very much for joining us today. Don't go away. You're going to stay there, and Beatrice is going to suddenly appear. Yes, fantastic. Well, Beatrice, welcome back. To both of you here, we've talked a lot about learnings and kind of learning around what's happened in the last 2 years and having to evolve and transform and what have you. We're certainly not out of the woods yet. Yes, there's events happening. And if you go to the Super Bowl, COVID didn't happen. But if you go to, Raphael, you were telling me earlier about being in Japan, where there's literally people holding boards saying no cheering. What are the, and I'll start with you, Beatrice, here first. What do you think are the main challenges today facing the live events industry? And that doesn't have to be sport, because sport, music, gaming, anything to do with live entertainment. What do you think the main challenges are, and what do you think are the ways to get over them?
I'll start first, and with I think, to me, actually, I felt it as a certain lethargy. That because I do think that as we have been, at least I can only speak for the people in Singapore, that because we've kind of been sort of not moving, not doing much, not going out to actually engage with a live audience or a big group of people for 2 years now, that it's going to take us a little bit of time to almost find an appetite to go out there, rush out there and buy that ticket and go back in. There's still a certain amount of fear that people have about going out there and catching COVID. I think that's real for a certain population, for a certain generation, a certain age group. I think that's real. For a certain, younger population, it doesn't seem to affect that much. Maybe there's just less fear of that. So there's fear, and then there's lethargy. And the idea that we're going to sort of, I think in Singapore, we always have this also, the gene to go out and have fun is not as strong. And I can say this because I'm Singaporean, that we almost kind of need permission, and we need some sort of encouragement to go out there and enjoy ourselves. But I think that this is temporary. I am convinced that nothing a little bit of alcohol cannot solve.
I hereby give you permission to have fun. And I think we're going to talk about fun in a second. But Raphael, same to you. What do you think are the main challenges for you? With all your football events going on all over the place, what are the main challenges, and how are you getting over them?
For me, it's getting easier, much easier in terms of organization events. The biggest challenge we had during the pandemic is getting people into the country, getting boots on the ground. So there was not only the event, there's the venue, making sure everything's been delivered, the logistics are working, and you work at the venue. What happened with the pandemic, we spent more time planning how to get people to the venue than actually planning the event delivery itself. So it's like if you double the amount of event planning, because you have to talk with all the authorities and all the paperwork to just get your people in the country. We had to get exemption letters to go to Korea. And without the help of the AFC and the Federation and the government, it doesn't happen. In Vietnam, we had the Prime Minister involved to allow the event to go on. So that's how high this thing goes. So to get to that level of complication and getting technology flying in, like virtual advertisement we had, and LED boards which haven't been operating in these countries, that was a huge challenge. We're actually on, like I said, going out of these challenges is getting much, much easier because you can just go in Thailand now, and we have events next week. And we have events which is starting tomorrow in Saudi, or tonight in Saudi. In Saudi, they don't really, there's almost no more COVID there, and all the stadium is full. And actually, I feel there's a different dynamic in many parts of the world. Sometimes we live in our little bubble because of what we live, but in most places we go, there's a really strong eagerness of people to go to the stadiums and socialize again.
Sorry, Beatrice, after you.
Yeah, I'd like to add on that also because, and in Singapore, at the moment, obviously, once you get COVID, then you are required to stay back at home. It's not in the past where, okay, you put on, if you got a flu or something, and if you're not feeling that well, then I think it's up to your own social consciousness whether you still turn up for work. But if you were part of a live event and you were, say, I don't know, the stage manager, the show caller, and you get COVID the day before, you're down, you cannot actually operate, then that has an impact on a live event, because that role that you, especially the role that you have, is not an easily replaceable role. In the same way that if I'm an actor and I'm on stage, I get COVID, I can't go on stage, the show shuts down. So I think that this isn't just for sport events, but it's for any sort of live event, that if you hold a very key role, either you're performing, you are competing, you are a key role in the operations, you go down with COVID, you cannot get out of the house. That is a real challenge. And that is a big fear, because for any live event where the key people come down with COVID and it shuts down the entire event, it's a big problem because it can't go on.
Good, very, very good point. Now we do have some questions coming in from the World Wide Web. The first one is for you, Beatrice, and this is from Sean Nick, who works for the World Table Tennis. I believe, well, you said that you work with World Table Tennis. So how can we elevate the sports prez, I'm assuming that means presentation, not press, sports presentation experience, so that viewers on the TV, over TV and online, can feel the same excitement as being there live in the stadium?
I believe it actually is in the fan engagement and being able to broadcast that. So at the moment, fan engagement is difficult because, at least for the live events, until the time that you can sort of bring a full crowd in, you want to. It's a combination of fans actually having enough people in the stadium enjoying themselves, and they are engaged, and that the broadcast camera is able to capture that. There is actually it should be a properly produced segment. For example, for example you have an MC. He goes up to a live audience. He throws questions at them. And that is actually captured on a broadcast camera. That often doesn't happen because a lot of times in those breaks, it usually cuts to something else. It cuts to a commercial. But if we were agreeable, I think, to show that fan engagement to the broadcast audience, then that's one way of being able to convey how people are enjoying themselves. It makes other people who are watching it at home think, oh man, I wish I was there too, because look at how much these guys are enjoying themselves. It's a little bit like if you take the NBA, for example, and obviously there's a lot of fan engagement, camera goes onto them. I mean, it's a classic example of that, but that requires coordination. It doesn't just happen. It sort of needs to be produced to have fan engagement. They must be engaged. Cameras go to them. They're lit properly. It goes out onto the live stream or on broadcast.
Fan engagement. We've done a lot of sessions on engaging fans and not just usually around marketing and building a fan base, but this is the first time we've really talked about fan engagement live on screen. We've got another question, and this is a great question. But by the way, thank you, Sean, for that great question. We have a question from Leonard Chong, who is from Tourism and Events in Queensland. This is a great question, and I would say, Leonard, this is probably a session in and of itself. So I'm going to ask Raphael first and then Beatrice. Raphael, greetings from Australia. Do you feel that the pandemic and the absence of international events has allowed local audiences to better embrace local art and sport? International tours are starting to come back, from Barcelona and Manchester United to international music acts coming to Australia. Did audience attitudes shift enough to grow the local talent base? What a great question. Raphael first.
It is a great question, but really hard to answer. I think especially in positions such as mine, where we look from like a general perspective and across Asia. I think it's an excellent question if you work in the tourism and events department in Queensland. Then
surely we should, Leonard, what we should be doing is Sports Matters in Brisbane. And we're very, very happy to come down and explore the idea for a few weeks, meet with you and maybe tour around Queensland, go to Noosa. I can promote Queensland for you as well. Beatrice, same question to you. And I think with your creative hat on, your arts hat on as well, maybe the question is better suited to you. But has the pandemic kind of localized people's taste?
I do think so. I believe that, and I have to say that this was. There was a lot of initiative from government, I think, to do that. I mean, firstly, people are trapped, right? We can't go anywhere. And so there was, and then in Singapore, we had this thing called the Rediscover vouchers and, a big initiative from STB for people to go out and sort of fall in love with their own backyard all over again. And I think that for all those purposes, it does make a difference that even though we had to be enticed with some $100 vouchers to go out there and fall in love with your own backyard, but people do it. I saw a lot of people, a lot of sort of more local tours coming up, where people are now starting to take walks along, areas like Joo Chiat, Geylang, where they're starting to. The tourism is sort of done in your own country as opposed to somewhere else, and that breeds work for the local Singaporeans, the artists, the musicians, and I can't imagine that doesn't have an effect. The point really is, now that we're starting to open up, and because we're always going to be spoiled by the amount of media choices that we have, that once it opens up, how loyal are we going to be to our local talent base? So,
good question. I think, as I said, I think it's such a great question. We don't have enough time to answer that one question with just, it's a whole session in and of itself. And there are some great events, in Queensland. I actually don't know Leonard, but I love Queensland. There's an amazing music conference called Big Sound that takes place and takes over Brisbane and what have you. And there's a lot of local governments around this part of the world, Asia Pacific, who are now starting to support event organizers to come and help promote the local industries, but also bring the international industries as well. So Leonard, thank you so much for that question. Let's go into the academy is all about is helping people understand the industry, but also how to get on in the industry and stuff. And I think Beatrice, let's stay with you here. If there's any advice you could give to anyone looking to get into the sports industry and allow you to look broader than sport, the events industry, what advice can you give them? And there's a caveat in there as well. In this part of the world, how do we make the sports industry a sexy, credible industry?
Oh my God, that is like, I don't know which one to answer first, but how do we make the sport industry a sexy industry? That is a huge question, which I believe even the Singapore government finds it very, very hard to answer. So I'd like to see what Peggy says about this one. The thing about sport is, we all love great stories, and it's nothing without the athletes. It's nothing without the great feats of sportsmanship. It's in the stories, and we must be able to be proud of those stories and be able to tell those stories. We build the heroes, you build the stories, you build the legends, and I believe the sexiness follows. People fall in love with that story. There's no greater drama than watching a football match. There's no greater drama than watching a rugby match. That's actually where the story is. But how do we make that sexy, credible? It takes so many parts, not just one, but we must believe in the athlete. We must believe in making them in that story, making them that hero, and everything else will follow.
So building icons.
Yeah.
What it's okay, and then part two of that question, a great answer. Part two of that question, or part one, what advice would you give someone wanting to get into the events business?
I think I have the same advice as I would to anybody, I think, sort of embracing life at this point of time, whether you're going to sort of finding any profession, and that is to stay as flexible as you can, and don't have such fixed expectations on what you think you should be or what you're going to be. And if you can have that great flexibility of your mind, I think you're going to be okay.
Nice. Very nice answer. Raphael, what advice would you give anyone wanting to get into the events business, the sports business, the football business?
Yeah, I think the flexible is really relatable because, I'm born and raised in Switzerland. I studied in England, and my first job was an intern in Spain. And for the America's Cup sailing competition, of course, it sounds glamorous and beautiful, but I was moving boxes for 6 months. So that's what you do. You're an intern. You get your hands dirty. You get the job done. After 6 months, I got a full-term contract for 2 years there. So I stayed 2 years in Spain, learned Spanish, and did participate in a great competition. And little by little, I got more responsibilities. I was a hospitality coordinator, and after 2 years, I had 2 years experience as a hospitality coordinator. And then back to the flexibility, then the sponsor who was sponsoring then said, hey, I'm doing an event in Switzerland for the Euro Cup in 2008. And we're building this huge 16 public viewing arenas, and we need the hospitality guy to work in that company. And do you want to work there? So I said, yeah, of course, I'll go back to Switzerland and do this. So I've done this for like a year and a half. And then I got another job working for team marketing for the Champions League. So suddenly in 5 years, you go from moving boxes to working on the best, one of the best club competition in the world. And after that, well, the road is open. What do you want to do? Where do you want to go? And I decided to do other things, and I ended up in Asia, even creating more flexibility that I got an opportunity and be ready to move. And the thing with sports marketing, there are now schools and universities with diplomas, but it's an on-the-ground job. You need to get experience. You need to go on the events, and you need to see how things happen. And that's where you really get the experience, which allows you to move. And if you have the passion, then every door is open. I think there's a lot of possibilities, and you can move around. There's a lot of properties today, and there's a lot of optionality which doesn't necessarily exist in all the industries.
There was a comment that came out in the earlier sessions today, get event fit again, because we're used to working behind laptops, right, and producing events where they close the lid and that's it, it's done. But getting back in a room with all your friends and your colleagues and your work, your teammates and stuff is really important. And I've said this before, but the phrase "it will be all right in the night," that's about events. It's written about an event, and things are going to go wrong, but then it just all comes good at the end. Okay, so look, I'm going to ask the final question to you two, because we are running a little low on time, and we need to meet Peggy to talk about another event that's coming up soon. But final question to you both, and Raphael, let's stay with you first. Everything we've been talking about, the challenges and kind of advice on getting into the business and succeeding and what have you. What's exciting for you right now? Now that could be for football marketing Asia, Raphael. What's exciting for you now?
I like to say every day is exciting in this company. We never have a single minute of rest. But so we just finished Asian qualifiers last week, and now we're running into Champions League in 6 different countries, or 4 or 5 different countries. So it's always exciting, but there's a big event coming up for us, which is next year in 2023 in China. It's the Asian Cup. It's in 10 venues in China. We know the situation currently with the pandemic, but we're definitely looking forward to this opening up and getting to a place where as much people as possible can enjoy it. And for such events, people don't realize sometimes, maybe for the younger audience, that's a 2 to 3 years planning at least, and it's a lot to get done, but it is so exciting. I mean, having an Asian Cup in China with the following, and that's going to happen there, and all the kids, we hope that will watch football and get passionate about the game, and not only the game. I mean, icons definitely very important, but all the people who want to work in the industry in the future. We just had the games, and now we're going to have Asian Cup in Guangzhou, and then we have Asian Games, in Guangzhou in September. Then you have the Asian Cup in June 2023. So the recurrence of events is exciting for everyone, for us, but also for all the people who's going to get involved. So
it sounds like the advice for you, Raphael, is learn Chinese.
So, yes.
Well, consider you've worked in every other country in the world, so I'm sure it's not a hard one for you. Beatrice, same question for you to finish the session. Finish this part of the session anyway. What's really exciting for Beatrice right now?
I mean, I'm in quite a similar position as where Raphael is, and that is that things are opening up. And we're being treated to I think just this year alone, a calendar of sporting events that are coming back to Singapore. Unfortunately, I'm not at liberty to name them all, but it does something every month. And I think that is a big difference from what it was in 2020 or 2021. The fact that there is a live sporting event every month, all the way until the end of the year, gives me goosebumps, makes my stomach churn a little bit, but that's what I'm looking forward to.
Fantastic. Well, what a lovely way to finish this part of the session. So Beatrice and Raphael, thank you very much for joining us today. I'm going to summarize this session right at the very end, okay? But some brilliant insights that came out about Asia opening up and building icons and fan engagement and stuff. So we'll summarize that soon. But thank you very much, because next we're going to say a very quick hello to Peggy Tung from Sports Singapore. But before we meet Peggy, we're going to watch a video.
In August, the SLT Arena Games delivered a never-before-seen blend of real and virtual competition. A pool swim in real life, and in the epic virtual world of Zwift, a turbo trainer bike and treadmill run legs. All indoors, and with all the excitement of every Super League event, offering unparalleled immersion and deep data from world champions and Olympic superstars. Broadcast in 162 territories on 42 networks with a huge digital presence, including over 3 million video views, reaching nearly 30 million people. The SLT Arena Games, first a game changer and now a proven concept.
Shoot is absolutely critical to get.
Learmonth up the stairs and Lopez up the grass. Jess Learmonth has a gap and she has the short shoot, so now the rest of the field have it all to do. Here's the two rhinos of Nina and Van Riel at the back.
Headed
Down goes Wild.
He went to the right as he came down to avoid the stairs and then tried to correct that.
That is devastating.
I didn't expect that. She was.
It's going to be Alex Yee for the championship. Can he take the race win as well? It's a sprint finish, and it's going to be Yee who takes it, I think. The championship and the race win. What a month for Alex Yee.
I'm tired just watching that. Please say a very big welcome, Sports Matters Academy welcome, Peggy Chern from Sports Singapore. You know this already, but you are the Deputy Director of Events Experience and Operations at Sports Singapore, and your team is looking after. Now, tell us all about it. Tell us more.
Wow, I look at that clips every time, especially the race with the LXE down to the last second. That's all about live events coming back. It's all about what Beatrice says about having the fun, excitement. And I think it's just a great way. And you look at Moe talking about Rugby 7 this weekend. So really, Sports Singapore is working with all our partners, all our private property owners to really bring events back. Super League Triathlon Arena Games is, well, you could say the Hunger Games of triathlon, because it's fast, unpredictable, very short format, just right for the audience of today, the millennials, the Gen Zs, which can't watch more than, I guess, 45 minutes of real action unless you're a real big fan. Secondly, I think Super League is the e-sport of triathlon. So you look at the technology that they brought, right? I mean, look at the avatars, look at the Zwift partnership. And actually, they won the Cutting Edge Award last year at the Sports Awards in Europe, which is almost the Oscars of the sports. And I think it's now a proven concept. And you look at the whole idea of actually racing on static machines, but having your output, your heartbeat, your cardio, all translated into that screen, seeing your avatars there. I think that's technology. And I think, for Singapore, we are very proud to bring this SLT Arena Games format in May, happening very soon in the first week of May. And we are actually the final leg of the three-part series. The first is in Munich, happening in 9th of April. Well, one more week. And then we're going to have in London on the 23rd of April. So Singapore is going to cap the grand finale, and we will announce the world champion of the entire esports series. So I think that's great for Singapore. That's Super League Triathlon. I think one last part I want to share is that, it just brings back to mind about, you talk about how are we going to reimagine the future of sports events. I think this is a big one. I don't think we will ever go away from the digital platform. I think we're going to stay there. It's about how we continually monetize that platform and to reach out to even more fans all over the world. Because with digital, you can reach millions in just one event. With physical, you're actually constrained by the geography, by the time zone and stuff like that. So I think blended or digital is here to stay. And Super League Triathlon is just one example of how far you can engage fans in the new normal.
Brilliant. Well, Peggy, thank you so much for joining us. It looks like an amazing event. And what a brilliant way to start the session talking about the sevens coming, to end the session talking about not just what you're doing with the triathlon and this hybrid event, but also what the government is doing to support sport in general in this part of the world, and how much Sports Singapore really is doing, and we are very grateful to them. Yes, they do support the Sports Managers Academy, but it really good for you, and thank you so much for all of your support. It's been a great session listening to the four of you speaking. But thank you, Peggy, for joining us today, and good luck with the session. The summary of the session is Asia is diverse. There is no such thing as Asia. We've said that a few times. Operations are all about people. It's a people business. But be careful of lethargy and fear. At the moment, in some parts of the world, you need permission to have fun. Take that away. Fan engagement is important. We want to bring back the fun. We talked about Sports Matters in Brisbane. Digital is, as Peggy just said, digital is staying. It extends the net. But we need to build icons in this part of the world to make sport as a career more credible to families. We talked about embracing life, stay flexible, Don't be afraid to get your hands dirty was another piece of advice. And get out there and experience anything. Get into a job. But the most important thing here, I think, from everything, is it's opening up. And so I will see everyone hopefully at the Sevens, or anyone in Singapore at the Sevens this weekend. I will be at the triathlon as well. I don't know if I'll be participating, but thank you so much again to Moyi, to Beatrice, to Raphael and Peggy, and thank you to everyone for joining the Sports Matters Academy today.